I'm Indigo Vale, 35, product designer turned accidental ghost. Los Angeles, 2019. Summer air heavy with eucalyptus and exhaust. The kind of heat that makes glass look soft. I woke to a push notification that wasn't supposed to exist. Luma, your life, sharper, public beta now open. Luma was my app. Not the name, I called it Prism. But the bones, the gestures, the fractal feed that stitched your calendar, notes, and camera into a single, living memory. A thing I had obsessed over through breakups, layoffs, and black coffee that tasted like regret. The notification pulsed in my palm like a heart I'd given away. I tapped. A crisp neon UI slid into view. The profile setup screen was mine, down to the tiny Easter egg where the skip button winks if you hold it for 3 seconds. On the welcome video, a familiar voice charmed the camera. Hey, I'm Jax Mercer, co-founder and CEO of Luma. My ex, the guy who used to sleep on my couch, brainstorm in my shower, and swear he believed in me more than sunlight. He was wearing the jacket I bought him for demo camp, smiling with teeth he never showed to me. We built Luma to make your memories searchable, he said, so you don't lose the best parts of your life. I paused the video, not because I couldn't breathe, but because the world had tilted and I needed to see the shape of the new horizon. My reflection hovered over Jax, my dark curls, yesterday's eyeliner, the ghost of the person who wrote the first wireframes on an index card. I scrolled. Features, timeline mesh TM, behavioral recall, haptic stacks, my words repackaged in venture-approved italics. He had even lifted the thesis. A camera roll without context is just entropy. My sentence, my breath on a cold winter night 2 years ago. I should have screamed. Instead, I made a list. Check the Git history. Check the deck. Check the NDA. The Git history was a graveyard. I had scrubbed the repo when I paused Prism, but Jack still had screenshots, a notebook of sketches, and copies of our pitch in a shared drive. The deck was there, renamed, polished, and stripped of my name. A January timestamp glowed like pure audacity. The NDA, he never signed it. It's just us, he'd said back then, curling around my idea like a cat around a laptop's warmth. Paper kills trust. Paper saves futures, I thought now, eyes burning. My phone vibrated again, an article. Stealth startup Luma emerges with 6.5 Pulitzer seed, led by Osiris Capital. Founder Jax Mercer says he had the idea after losing a family video. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I didn't know which was louder. I remembered the night I'd shown him Prism's prototype, the way his attention sharpened like a lens. We sat at my kitchen table, blue light glow making us look like strangers. This is spooky, he'd whispered, thumbing the elastic timeline, watching pictures, voice notes, and geopins stitch themselves into a memory web. It's not spooky, I'd said. It's humane. You're going to change how people remember, he told me, touching my arm. We are. The word had been a door. Inside it, betrayal waited patiently for its cue. I got dressed in autopilot, black jeans, white tee, hair in a blunt bun. The mirror reflected a woman I recognized from other disasters. Not broken, just bending. At the office, a co-working space with industrial plants and inspirational neon about hustle. The elevator opened to a billboard-sized Luma ad streaming in the lobby. The tagline pulsed, "Never lose the best parts." I stepped closer. The promo clip cut to B-roll of hands swiping through animated stacks. My fingerprint of design. My eyes caught something that made my pulse spike. A micro-interaction only I had ever implemented. A 2-finger slide that reveals mood tags under photos. How's that even possible? I murmured. Crazy, right? A voice said behind me. It was Maya, my developer friend on another team. She followed my stare. Everyone's talking about Luma. Supposedly it's a genius ex-Facebook dude behind it. Jax didn't work at Facebook, I said. Plot twist, she smirked. Then, because she knows me, her face softened. You okay? I wanted to say, they taxidermied my mind and started charging admission. Instead, I said, I need coffee. Inside the kitchen, I pulled up the investor video again, dragging the playhead frame by frame. A slide flashed by too quickly for casual viewers. Acknowledgements, core concepts contributed by, the rest blurred. I froze the frame, zoomed, enhanced like a cliché detective. The letters at the bottom right corner were small, ghosted out in 20% opacity. But there, that prototype Fratreat Mauve, my initials, my file. My hands shook so badly I had to put the phone down. It's evidence, Maya said quietly, looking over my shoulder. He used your assets. I gave him access, I whispered. I trusted him. You can still fight, she said. IP lawyer, press, Twitter thread so surgical it leaves a scar. I nodded. My throat tasted like pennies. The anger was a tide building behind glass, waiting for a crack. That night, I walked Venice Beach alone, the sand cold and the ocean black as erased code. Every wave sounded like a line I'd written. Every light on the boardwalk flickered like a notification I couldn't mute. Maybe I'm not the genius I thought. The thought arrived like an intruder, familiar as an old bruise. Maybe I deserve to be left behind. Another thought. And then another, quieter. Maybe he's just louder, not better. Back home, I opened my laptop and pulled up Prism's earliest journal. Entry 12/04/17. Make memory stop feeling like a landfill. Give people their time back. Designed for the way grief and joy coexist. I read those lines twice. I read them again until the words steadied my hands. I poured everything I felt into a folder called Wrath. Inside it, I placed new sketches. Not Prism 1.0, not Luma's shiny theft, but a version that did what neither could. A privacy-first engine that lived on-device, encrypted, with a remix layer that let users author their own narratives with audio, video, and text braided together. I worked until sunrise. Numbness gave way to a low, bright heat. Not revenge yet, just oxygen. At 7:12 a.m., a message pinged my inbox from an alias I didn't recognize. Cedar Finch. Subject, if you want proof. The body was one line. Check the commit comments for Luma Build 1832. Search for Prism Ghost. Below that, a single photo attachment. Jax's whiteboard with my map, the timeline mesh, copied box for box, arrows and all. In the corner, written in his jagged left-handed scrawl, Prism Ghost Idea, rename. I stared at the screen until the letters trembled. Another message came in, same alias. Subject, he's planning a cease and desist. Body, for you, claiming you cloned him. He's using Osiris's lawyers. It goes out at 10 a.m. The time glowed on my menu bar, 9:03 a.m. My mind split, one half drowning, the other doing math. If he sent the letter first, the narrative would calcify around his timeline. If I moved before 10, I could own the story. The tide behind the glass found its crack. I opened a blank doc and for the first time since the notification, said it out loud. He stole my life, I whispered, so I'm taking it back. I began typing a thread, then stopped. No, a thread was noise. This needed precision and a stage. I pulled up a contact I hadn't spoken to in a year, Kendall Tran, producer for a tech channel that loved underdog stories and messy billionaires. My finger hovered over the call button. Then another ping, an email, official letterhead, Osiris Capital's legal team. Subject, cease and desist, unauthorized use of trade secrets. My thumb pressed open. Dear Ms. Vale. The words swarmed my screen like flies. I looked at the clock, 9:17. 43 minutes until he recast me as the thief. I took a breath so deep my ribs hurt. Then I hit call on Kendall's contact. Indigo, she answered, groggy. It's, wow, early. I have a story, I said. And a whiteboard picture from a unicorn's golden boy. She was awake in a heartbeat. Tell me everything. I glanced at the attachment, at my map on Jax's wall. Not over the phone, I said. Can you meet me in 30? Where? I thought of the billboard, the co-working neon, the ocean's cynicism. Then I thought of a place that had been patient with me before. The old Prism office, I said, grabbing my keys. The lease is technically still in my name. I shoved the cease and desist into a folder, slung my laptop into my backpack, and stepped into a city that had never promised to be kind. On the way out, my phone buzzed again. A new message from Cedar Finch. He's tracking your GitHub. Don't push, don't log in, use a burner. I stared at the words, skin prickling. He was already in my future. I stepped into the elevator and watched the floors blink down. 12, 11, 10. My reflection stared back at me in the mirrored doors, tired, furious, lucid. The doors opened to the lobby's heat and the billboard's glow, Jax smiling like he had invented memory. As I crossed the threshold, my phone rang with a number I knew by heart. Jax, I answered. His voice was silk over a blade. Indy, he said, using the nickname he no longer owned. We need to talk before you do something you'll regret. I stopped in the doorway, the morning swallowing my shadow. What did you do? I asked. He laughed softly. What we always said we would. A car horn barked outside. The city inhaled. "I hope you brought an umbrella," he added. "Storms tend to follow thieves." The line clicked dead. I stared at my phone, heart pounding time into the air. And then I heard it. A door down the hall creaking open, footsteps, a familiar clatter. Someone was already inside the old Prism office. The Prism office smelled like dust and paint thinner. I hadn't been there in months, not since the rent started feeling like an open wound. I pushed the door open slowly, my backpack slung high, phone still in my hand like a lifeline. The blinds were half drawn, streaks of morning light slashing across the whiteboard. And there, crouched by my old desk, was a man. Not Jax, too small, too cautious. "Who's there?" I snapped. My voice cracked, but came out sharp enough to echo against the walls. He turned. A baseball cap shadowed his face, but when he stood, I saw wire-frame glasses and a nervous jaw. "I'm Cedar," he said. "Cedar Finch." My stomach dropped. The name from the emails. "You broke into my office?" I asked. Broke in is a strong word. Door wasn't locked. He shoved his hands into his hoodie pocket like a teenager. I didn't know how else to get you to listen. I wanted to scream at him, but the folder in his hands, stuffed with papers, printouts, sticky notes, was louder than anything I could say. He held it out. "These are build logs, Luma's commits. Your fingerprints are all over them." I took the folder, flipping through code snippets, screenshots, even side-by-side comparisons. Prism prototype versus Luma beta. It was like staring into a hall of mirrors, each reflection erasing me further. "How do you even have this?" I whispered. Cedar's eyes darted to the window. "I was one of their contractors, freelance QA. I thought it was just another app until I saw your name ghosting in the files. IV prototype, Indie Veil. I knew they stole something." "Why risk this?" I asked, narrowing my eyes. He hesitated, then pulled his sleeve back. A faded tattoo, a geometric prism. "I was in your beta test, back in 2018. Prism made sense of my brother's accident videos, helped me heal. I couldn't watch them raw, but your app stitched them into something bearable." His voice cracked. He looked away. "Jax doesn't care about that. He only cares about capital." I held my breath, throat tightening. The betrayal wasn't just mine. Before I could reply, my phone buzzed again. "Kendall." "Indigo, I'm here," she said. "Outside. You sound like you're in a wind tunnel." "Come up," I told her. Minutes later, Kendall appeared. Camera bag slung across her chest, hair tied in a messy knot, eyes already scanning the space like she was looking for shots. "Jesus, this place is a time capsule," she said. Then she saw Cedar. "And who's he?" "Whistleblower," I answered. Cedar grimaced. "Just guy who doesn't want history rewritten." Kendall set her bag down and zipped it open, pulling out a handheld recorder. "Okay, if you want this on record, we need to start now." The words made me dizzy. On record, like proof that I hadn't just imagined my life. I nodded, and she hit the button. Her voice shifted into professional mode. "This is Kendall Tran interviewing Indigo Vale, designer and original creator of Prism. Indigo, when did you realize your intellectual property had been stolen?" I swallowed, my mouth dry. "When I saw my ex on a billboard," I said. Cedar sat quietly, flipping pages for me to reference, the evidence forming a wall between us and Jax's lies. Halfway through, Kendall stopped recording. "This is dynamite," she whispered. "But if you drop it raw, Jax's lawyers will bury you alive. You need a strategy." I rubbed my temples. "Like what?" She leaned forward. "Control the narrative. Don't just say he stole. Show how Prism was about empathy, about memory. Make people feel what was lost. Otherwise, it's just a legal squabble over features." Her words sank into me like nails. Empathy, memory, the core of why I built Prism. I looked at Cedar. "Can you stay hidden a little longer?" He nodded. "I'll risk it." Before I could speak again, my phone vibrated. Another email. From Jax. Subject: "Stop before you ruin yourself." Body: "Indy, I know you're angry, but the truth is, you abandoned Prism. I carried it. You'll never win in court. Walk away, and I'll make sure Osiris leaves you alone. Otherwise, your name will be poison in this industry." I read the words twice, anger building with each syllable. My blood pounded so hard I thought my skin might split. "I'm not walking away," I whispered. Kendall leaned back, raising her brows. "Then it's war." She was right, and wars had casualties. But before I could plan my next move, Cedar's laptop pinged. A notification popped up. Slack message from a Luma dev he still had access to. Rumor, they're shipping version 2 tonight. Big launch event Friday. Investors flying in. Friday, 2 days. The timeline shrank around me like a noose. Cedar closed the lid with shaking hands. They're locking the narrative, Indigo. If they launch 2.0, your voice will be erased forever. The room spun. I pressed my hands against the desk, forcing the dizziness down. I thought of the Wrath folder, the sketches, the encrypted core, the remix layer. My revenge wasn't just a dream, it was a product. I turned to Kendall. If I can get a working prototype out before Friday, will you cover it? Her eyes lit up like stage lights. Front page, with video. Cedar looked panicked. That's 2 days? I know, I said. And in that moment, fear felt a lot like fuel. But as the adrenaline surged, a thought whispered through the static. What if he already knows I'm building again? The elevator in the hall dinged. Footsteps, too heavy for Kendall, too confident for Cedar. I froze. Someone else was coming up. The footsteps grew louder, steady, deliberate. Not hesitant, not lost. Someone who knew where they were going. Cedar's eyes darted to the door, panic flickering like a warning light. Kendall quietly switched off her recorder and slid it back into her bag, her body language snapping from casual journalist to cornered witness. I swallowed, my pulse drumming in my ears. I had just declared war, and now the enemy might be walking through that door. The knob turned, the door opened. Relax, a voice said, smooth and amused. It wasn't Jax. A woman in a tailored blazer stepped in, her heels clicking sharp against the concrete. She was tall, striking, with black hair pinned into a perfect coil. She carried a slim leather portfolio under one arm. Ms. Vale, she said. Her voice had the polished tone of someone used to speaking in courtrooms. I represent Osiris Capital. My stomach dropped. So fast, he hadn't wasted a second. Cedar shrank against the wall, clutching his laptop like a shield. Kendall pulled out her phone, thumbing the camera app but keeping it low, hidden. The woman set her portfolio on my desk, opened it, and slid a crisp document across the wood. A cease and desist, she explained. Effective immediately. You are to stop all use of Prism-related intellectual property. Luma owns the rights now. I didn't touch the paper. I didn't need to. I could smell the ink, the arrogance baked into every line. You can't own what you stole, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. She smiled, a lawyer's smile, thin as a blade. You abandoned it. Mr. Mercer simply picked up where you left off. And we have investors who will testify he is the sole originator. I wanted to lunge across the table. Instead, I leaned back, crossing my arms. You came all the way here to intimidate me? Doesn't that mean you're scared? Her smile faltered, just slightly. Then she snapped the folder shut. Consider this your only warning, she said. Fight us, and you'll never work in tech again. She turned, heels slicing the silence, and left without another word. The door clicked shut. For a moment, none of us moved. The office was heavy with her perfume, a mix of citrus and steel. Kendall broke the silence first. Well, she's charming. I laughed, bitter and sharp. They're bluffing. Are they? Cedar whispered. His face was pale. They will blacklist you. Osiris is huge. They'll bury you. I stood, fists clenched. Let them try. I'm not building Prism 1.0. I'm building something better, something they can't own. Kendall leaned forward, her eyes gleaming. Then we have to show it. Not just tell it, show it, publicly. With a story people can't ignore. Her words lit something in me. The revenge wasn't just code. It was narrative. If Jax was stealing my past, I would own the future by making it impossible for the world to forget my voice. Cedar opened his laptop, hands trembling. I'll help you. I still have access to their bug tracker. I can slow them down. Maybe stall their 2.0 launch. Won't they notice? I asked. They already suspect me, he admitted. But I don't care. Not after what they did to you. For the first time in days, I felt the edges of something that wasn't despair. Allies. The clock on the wall ticked loud and cruel. Thursday morning, barely 24 hours until the Luma 2.0 event. I looked at the Wrath folder on my laptop. It wasn't ready, not even close. But it didn't have to be perfect. It just had to be undeniable. We need a working prototype, I said, more to myself than to them. And we need a way to light it on fire, figuratively. Kendall raised a brow. You want viral? Viral, I said firmly. If Jax plays with capital, we play with culture. The room vibrated with purpose. Cedar typing, Kendall sketching out a launch video plan, me hammering code like every keystroke was a heartbeat. But in the back of my mind, one thought kept circling like a hawk. If Osiris's lawyer already knew where to find me, what else did Jax know? The answer came too soon. At 2:17 p.m., my phone buzzed again, a single notification from an unknown number. It was a photo. Me, Kendall, and Cedar in the office, taken just minutes ago through the blinds. Caption, TikTok indie. I froze, every muscle locking up. He was watching us. The photo burned into my mind. Me, Kendall, Cedar, frozen in a grainy frame. The blinds we thought were shielding us had turned into prison bars. I dropped the phone onto the desk like it was poisoned. He's watching us, I whispered. Kendall grabbed the phone, her journalist instincts flipping into gear. This isn't just intimidation, it's surveillance. He's already crossing lines. Cedar's face drained of color. He shut his laptop with a snap. If he knows we're here, he probably knows I'm leaking too. I'm screwed. I grabbed his wrist before he could spiral. No, you're not screwed. We are, together. That means we fight smarter. But my heart was pounding so violently, I thought it might echo through the blinds. Kendall exhaled sharply, then squared her shoulders. If he wants to play stalker, fine. Let's flip it. We show the world how far he's willing to go to silence you. It adds fuel to your story. Story's no good without proof, I muttered. We need more than screenshots and suspicion. We need a working demo that can't be denied. Cedar cracked his knuckles nervously. Then let's make one, tonight. I glanced at the clock, 3:02 p.m., 20 hours until Luma's launch. My whole body ached with exhaustion, but adrenaline shoved me forward. This wasn't about code anymore. It was survival. We split the work. Cedar dove into the Wrath folder with me, his fingers flying as he tested modules and debugged errors. His background in QA meant he knew exactly where to poke holes before Jax's team could exploit them. Kendall transformed one corner of the office into a makeshift studio. Lights, backdrop, her camera humming as she tested angles. We need a face, she said. Your face. Not Jax's polished CEO grin, your raw, furious truth. That's how we'll hook people. I hated the idea. I wanted the product to speak for itself. But she was right. People needed to see the betrayal carved into me, not just hear about it. Hours blurred. Code, coffee, camera lights. The air tasted like dust and panic. At 7:45 p.m., Cedar cursed under his breath. They've patched access. I'm locked out of their bug tracker. I looked up from my screen. How much did you stall them? He bit his lip. Maybe a few hours, not enough. The room fell silent. Only the hum of Kendall's camera filled the air. Then my laptop chimed. A notification from a server I hadn't touched in months. Prism Dev, repository activity detected. I froze. That repo was dead. Cedar leaned over my shoulder. On the screen, fresh commits scrolled by, each tagged with a new username. User Prism Ghost. Lines of code poured in, eerily similar to the sketches in Wrath. Features I hadn't written yet, but ones I had imagined. How? I whispered. Someone's building it for you, Cedar said, voice shaky. Kendall lowered her camera. That's impossible. But it wasn't, because at the end of the commit log was a note. For Indigo, don't let him win. The three of us stared at the screen, stunned. Was Cedar not the only insider? Was there another ghost inside Luma's machine? Before we could process, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. This time, no photo, just words. Careful who you trust. The room chilled. Cedar backed away from the desk. That's aimed at me. I studied him, trying to read the panic in his eyes. Was it guilt or fear? I didn't know. And that terrified me. Kendall zipped up her bag. We need to move. This place isn't safe anymore. If he's watching, he knows every step we're taking. Where do we go? I asked. My studio, she said. Secure, soundproof, no blinds for creeps to peek through. You'll finish the prototype there. We'll film. Then we drop it before Luma 2.0 hits the stage. It was the only option. We packed in a frenzy. Cedar stuffed the folder of evidence into his backpack. I slammed my laptop shut. Kendall coiled cables with the precision of someone who'd done this 100 times. As we headed for the door, I glanced back one last time. The Prism office looked like a hollow shell, a crime scene of dreams. And on the whiteboard in the middle of my old sketches was something I hadn't written. Fresh marker strokes, 4 words. You're running out of time. My throat tightened. We hadn't written it, but someone had been inside. Kendall's studio was in a warehouse district east of downtown, the kind of place where graffiti and ambition fought for wall space. The drive there was silent, just the hum of the road and the weight of that message on the whiteboard. You're running out of time. The words followed me like shadows. When we pulled up, Kendall keyed us inside through a steel door. The air smelled of paint, cables, and stale coffee. The walls were soundproofed with thick foam panels, her cameras stacked like soldiers waiting for war. This is safer, she said, locking the door behind us. Nobody sees in, nobody hears out. But I couldn't shake the feeling that someone already had eyes inside us. We set up quickly. Cedar unfolded his laptop at a corner desk, connecting hard drives like he was wiring a bomb. Kendall adjusted lights, creating a halo around the table where I would sit. This is your stage, she said. When you talk like the world is already listening. I nodded, but my hands trembled as I opened Wrath. The prototype was raw, code duct taped together, bugs lurking like landmines. But it worked. The privacy-first engine loaded. The encrypted timeline stitched itself together, and the remix layer, the crown jewel, let me narrate a memory with video, voice, and text, weaving them into a single, fluid story. I tested it with a clip of my mother's voice, a photo of my college graduation, and a geotag from Venice Beach. The screen pulsed with color as the three merged into a moment. For a breath, the betrayal melted away. This was why I built Prism. Cedar leaned over. It's beautiful, and it's yours. Jax can't fake this. But even as he spoke, his phone buzzed. He frowned. What is it? I asked. He hesitated, then showed me. A message. Same unknown number. He's lying to you. My gut twisted. About what? Cedar shook his head. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to pit us against each other. But doubt slithered into the room like smoke. Kendall clapped her hands, breaking the tension. Eyes here. We film in 10. Indigo, I want you raw. Tell your story. Don't just accuse Jax. Make people feel what he stole. I sat under the lights. Sweat prickled my neck. The lens stared back at me like an unblinking witness. Kendall counted down. 3, 2, 1, rolling. I opened my mouth. My name is Indigo Vale. I built Prism because I believed memories shouldn't be lost. They should be lived again, with context, with meaning. I trusted someone I loved with that vision. He took it. He stole it. And now he wants to erase me. The words cracked out of me, sharp and shaking. My throat burned, but I kept going. I didn't walk away. I was pushed out. But I'm back. And what I have now, what we have, will make Luma obsolete before it even launches. Kendall's eyes shone behind the camera. She nodded, urging me on. So if you're watching this, I said, voice low, remember, the truth always leaves fingerprints. And mine are all over Prism. I stopped, chest heaving. Cut, Kendall whispered. That was fire. But before relief could settle, Cedar's laptop pinged again. We all rushed over. On the screen was a live feed, video from inside Kendall's studio. The angle was from the ceiling corner, where a small black dot blinked red. A hidden camera. Someone had been watching us, even here. Cedar's face went white. That's not mine, I swear. Kendall grabbed a chair and smashed the lens, sparks raining down. But the damage was done. Whoever had eyes on us already had my confession, my prototype, my face. And then, as if to confirm it, my phone buzzed. Another message. A video clip? Me, seconds ago, staring into the camera. He stole it. And now he wants to erase me. Underneath, a caption. See you at the launch. I nearly dropped the phone. My skin crawled. He wasn't just one step ahead. He was in the room, even when he wasn't. Kendall grabbed my shoulder. This doesn't kill us. This helps us. If he leaks that clip, it only makes you look braver. We flip it, Indigo. We flip everything. Her words lit a spark, but fear gnawed at the edges. Because if he could plant a camera here, where else had he planted his ghosts? And more importantly, if he was planning to confront me at the launch, what exactly was waiting for us there? The night before the launch was a blur of caffeine and paranoia. Every sound felt amplified. The creak of the pipes in Kendall's studio, the buzz of fluorescent lights, the distant wail of a siren outside. None of us slept. Cedar sat hunched over his laptop, trying to trace the hidden feed that had spied on us. He muttered IP addresses under his breath like prayers. each dead end making him slam the keys harder. Kendall edited furiously, stitching my raw testimony into a cinematic story. She layered footage of Prism's prototype in action, cut with shots of my face under the harsh studio lights. The betrayal burned across the screen. And me? I coded until my fingers cramped, forcing Prism's 2.0 into existence, even if it was duct tape and hope. Every bug I killed felt like a tiny victory. Every feature I finished a punch thrown back at Jax. By 4 a.m., the prototype was alive. Fragile, imperfect, but breathing. At dawn, Kendall uploaded the finished video draft. She showed me the opening. Black screen. My voice. I built Prism because memories deserve meaning. Then the betrayal unfolded. Screenshots of Jax. Side-by-side comparisons of Prism and Luma. The folder of evidence Cedar had brought. Finally, my closing line, staring straight into the camera. The truth always leaves fingerprints, and mine are all over Prism. It hit like a hammer. Kendall turned to me. If we drop this, it goes nuclear. Are you ready? I opened my mouth, but before I could answer, Cedar's laptop beeped. He looked up, wide-eyed. They just pulled my access to everything, and his voice broke. They pushed Luma 2.0 live, not at the event. Now. What? I staggered to his screen. Sure enough, Luma's App Store page had updated. New features, flashy screenshots, features lifted straight from Wrath, even the remix layer. My stomach churned. How the hell? Cedar shook his head. Either they've been watching you for months, or... He stopped, biting his lip. Or what? I demanded. Or someone here leaked your prototype. The words dropped like a bomb. The air turned razor sharp. I looked at Cedar, at Kendall. Neither spoke. My heart hammered so loud I could barely think. Could Jax really have gotten to one of them? Before the silence could break us apart, Kendall's phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID and cursed. It's him, she whispered. Jax. The room froze. She answered on speaker. Hello? His voice poured through, smooth, calculated. Kendall, still chasing underdog stories. Careful, this one bites. I clenched my fists. Coward, I hissed. Oh, Indy, he crooned, ignoring me. You always mistook obsession for brilliance. You couldn't finish Prism. I did. And tomorrow the world will cheer for me, not you. You stole everything, I snapped. He chuckled. Stole? No. Perfected. And if you drop that little sob story you're working on, Osiris will file suits so fast your grandchildren will still be paying for them. Then why call? Kendall cut in sharply. Silence. Then a sigh. Because I liked you once, Indigo. I wanted to give you a chance to walk away quietly. This is me, being generous. My throat burned. You're not generous, you're terrified. He laughed, cold and sharp. See you at the launch. The line went dead. I sank into the chair, dizzy. He's rattled, Kendall said. That means we're close to breaking him. But the words from Cedar still lingered. Someone leaked your prototype. I stared at the Wrath folder, then at my friends, my allies, or were they? Before I could speak, a new notification lit up my screen. An email, no subject, no sender. I opened it. Inside was a single attachment, a live stream link. The preview thumbnail froze my blood. It was me, sitting at Kendall's desk, coding Wrath, recorded from over my shoulder. The stream was live, and the title read, Prism Ghost, 12 hours until launch. The live stream burned on my screen. Me, hunched over the keyboard, coding Wrath like a lab rat on display. Thousands of viewers already tuned in. The comments a blur of fire emojis, accusations, and disbelief. Is this real? Wait, she's the real creator? Staged? Has to be. My pulse spiked. My privacy, my fight, my very existence. All hijacked and served to the internet like cheap theater. Kendall swore under her breath. We're compromised. Someone planted that feed. Either here or somewhere you've been before. Cedar slammed his laptop shut, pacing. It's a trap. They want to control the narrative, make you look desperate, unstable. But the stream was already out. My face, my voice, my code. Jax had turned my survival into his spectacle. Kendall grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to look at her. Indigo, listen, this isn't the end. This is a stage. They gave you an audience. Now we flip it. How? I snapped, my voice shaking. They're calling me a thief in real time. Then you show them, right now. Drop the prototype live, on your terms. Hijack the narrative back. Her eyes were fire. For the first time in days, I saw not just a journalist, but a warrior. Cedar stopped pacing. But if we release it now, they'll dissect it. Lawyers, trolls, competitors. Everyone will rip it apart before launch. Better ripped apart on your terms, Kendall said, then erased on theirs. The words cut deep. I looked back at the stream, my cursor blinking, my hands moving, every keystroke exposed. Maybe she was right. Maybe this was the moment. I plugged Prism 2.0 into the projector, the screen glowing across the studio wall. The interface bloomed alive, smoother than I remembered. Despite the chaos, it worked. A hush fell between us. I loaded a demo memory. A video of Venice Beach, my mother's voice overlay, my own diary entry scrolling as subtitles. The three merged, rippling into a single immersive memory. It was breathtaking, even to me. Kendall's eyes widened. That's the story. Forget the lawyers, forget Jax. This is what will move people. Cedar nodded slowly. If you push this live, nobody can deny it's yours. Not after seeing that. For a fleeting moment, hope cut through the paranoia. Then the live stream chat exploded. She stole it from Luma. This is fake. Jax showed it first. She's a fraud. My chest tightened. Even with the truth in front of them, people believed him. I felt the edges of collapse. My lungs shallow, my vision narrowing. Maybe this was the trap all along, to let me hang myself live. Kendall saw it. She grabbed the camera, swung it toward me. Talk, she ordered. Not to me, to them. I stared into the lens, sweat dripping down my temple. My name is Indigo Vale, I said, voice trembling but growing steadier. I built Prism before Luma ever existed. I trusted someone I loved, and he stole it. But what you're seeing now, this is mine. This is proof. I clicked through the demo, showing fingerprints only I could have left. Hidden gestures, personal notes embedded in the timeline. Entries dated years before Jax even touched code. The chat slowed. Some doubters, some believers, but cracks were forming. And then, the stream cut to black. We froze. Cedar smacked his keyboard. No. They killed the feed. They pulled the plug. Seconds later, my phone buzzed with a new message. A video. This time, Jax's face filled the frame. Smooth, smug, untouchable. Nice try, Indy, he said. But tomorrow I own the stage. You won't even get in the door. He leaned closer to the lens, his smile a knife. Unless you'd like a front row seat to your own funeral. The video ended. The room went dead silent. Cedar whispered, "What does that mean?" I didn't answer, because I already knew. He wasn't just going to crush me legally, he was going to humiliate me publicly. And he was daring me to show up. By sunrise, Los Angeles felt like it was holding its breath. Billboards for Luma 2.0 stretched across freeways. Buses wrapped in neon slogans, "Never lose the best parts." And me, Indigo Vale, was about to crash the party I was never invited to. I hadn't slept. None of us had. The studio was littered with coffee cups, tangled wires, and the echo of Jax's threat. Your own funeral. Kendall adjusted her camera rig, her jaw tight. We're going. We film everything. No edits, no filters. If they try to humiliate you, we flip it live. Cedar hesitated by the door, backpack clutched like armor. Indigo. What if it's a trap? What if they're waiting to arrest you the second you walk in? I pulled the Wrath drive from my pocket, the prototype glowing on its tiny LED. Then they'll have to arrest the truth, too. The launch venue was a glass monolith downtown, packed with tech influencers, investors, and journalists. Security was everywhere, their black suits and earpieces making the place feel less like innovation and more like a fortress. The stage was set, literally. A massive screen behind the podium pulsed with the Luma logo. Seats filled with chatter, phones raised, hashtags already trending. We slipped inside with the crowd, Kendall's camera tucked under her jacket, Cedar glued to his laptop, monitoring every digital tremor. I felt eyes on me. Every face in the room could be friend or spy. Then the lights dimmed, music swelled, and Jax Mercer walked on stage. The audience erupted in applause. Flashbulbs stung my eyes. He looked every bit the golden boy. Tailored suit, disarming smile, arms outstretched like a preacher. "Thank you for being here," he began. "Today we unveil not just an app, but the future of memory." His voice was silk over glass, but I could hear the jagged edges beneath. As he spoke, the screen behind him lit up with demos. Features lifted word for word from my notebooks. gestures I had invented, and then my remix layer. The crowd gasped as a video merged with photos, captions blooming like poetry. My idea, stolen, wearing his name. I clenched the wrath drive in my palm until it hurt. Kendall whispered, "Now, show them." But before I could move, security guards started drifting through the aisles, scanning faces. They were looking for me. Cedar nudged me, panicked. "He knows you're here." On stage, Jax's eyes flicked to the crowd, just for a second, and I knew he'd already spotted me. He smiled wider, like he was about to spring the trap. "Luma is about connection," he declared. "But every story has imitators." The crowd chuckled obediently. My stomach turned to stone. "Some people," Jax continued, "believe that their half-baked ideas give them ownership of greatness. But innovation is execution, and execution is mine." Gasps, murmurs. He was baiting me, live in front of cameras. Kendall's grip tightened on my arm. "If you stay silent, he wins. If you speak, they'll try to drag you out. Your call." The guards closed in. I felt the walls of the room tilt. I could stand, I could scream, I could let them drag me into the shadows. Or I could plug in wrath. The projector jack gleamed at the back of the hall. If I reached it, I could hijack the screen, overwrite Jax's lies with Prism's truth. But to get there, I'd have to slip past security, past the eyes of hundreds of strangers. And Jax was waiting, daring me. The world held its breath. I rose from my seat. The moment I stood, the air shifted. 2 security guards moved instantly, their earpieces crackling. The crowd parted slightly, curious eyes following me like I was a spark about to ignite the room. Kendall muttered through clenched teeth, "Go, I'll stall them." Before I could stop her, she slipped into the aisle, pretending to fumble with her camera gear. She collided with the guards on purpose, her voice rising. "Press! Don't you dare touch my equipment." The distraction bought me seconds. Seconds were everything. I slipped past, heart hammering, weaving between rows of chairs. Cedar trailed close behind, clutching his backpack, eyes darting like prey. The projector port glowed at the back of the hall, guarded only by a podium drape. I lunged for it. Behind me, Jax's voice boomed across the sound system. "Oh, and here she is, ladies and gentlemen. The ghost of Prism herself." The spotlight cut through the dark, pinning me in front of hundreds of strangers. Gasps rippled. Cameras lifted. I froze, the wrath drive heavy in my hand. "Indigo Veil," Jax said, his smile shark-wide. "Tell me, did you come here to watch me succeed, or to fail one more time yourself?" The audience laughed nervously. A show. They thought this was scripted. My throat tightened, but I forced the words out. "I came to show them the truth," and I shoved wrath into the projector. The screen behind Jax flickered, glitching his flawless demo. His smirk faltered for half a second, enough to feed me oxygen. Then Prism's interface bloomed across the 40-foot screen. Not Luma, not his version. Mine. The audience gasped again, but this time it was different, sharper, electric. I ran the demo. Venice Beach, my mother's voice, my diary entry. The timeline glowed alive, seamless, intimate. The crowd fell silent, watching the memory weave together. "This is Prism," I said, voice shaking but steady enough. "The app Jax Mercer stole from me. You want proof? Check the file metadata, 2017, years before Luma existed. Check the gestures, mine. Check the entries, my life." The silence cracked into murmurs, some disbelief, some awe, and Jax. His jaw tightened, his perfect composure slipping. Security lunged. Cedar intercepted, yanking cables from his backpack, triggering alarms on their walkie-talkies. The guards stumbled, confused. Kendall had her camera raised, streaming everything. Her voice rang out, "It's live, Indigo! The whole world's watching!" And then the comments began to flood in. This time not Jax's planted trolls, but real people. "She has proof. Look at the metadata. This isn't Luma. This is Prism." The tide was turning. But Jax wasn't finished. He stepped forward, fury veiled under his smile. "You think people care who drew it first?" he sneered. "They care who delivers it. And guess what? You're standing on my stage." His voice echoed like a verdict. I met his eyes. "No, I just took it back." The audience erupted, half cheers, half chaos. And then the screen went black. For a heartbeat, everything froze. Then a message appeared, white text on black. "Prism Ghost, property of Osiris Capital." Gasps, confusion. The feed had been hijacked again. And this time, it wasn't me. Jax's smirk returned, sharper than ever. You see? Even your little stunt is ours now. The guards closed in from all sides. Cedar tugged at my arm, panic in his eyes. Kendall screamed, "Keep rolling!" The crowd didn't know who to believe anymore, half reaching for their phones, half booing, half cheering. And me, Indigo Vale, caught in the spotlight. Wrath Drive ripped from my hand. Realizing the fight wasn't just against Jax. There was another ghost in the machine. The Wrath Drive slipped from my fingers, snatched by a guard in black gloves. The crowd roared, half thinking this was part of the spectacle, half sensing they were witnessing something unscripted, dangerous. "Give that back," I shouted, lunging forward, but another guard pinned my arms. Jax stepped closer, savoring the moment. His voice carried through the mic, smooth as oil. Indigo Vale, ladies and gentlemen. Proof that obsession is louder than innovation. Proof that some people can't let go. He turned to the cameras, flashing his perfect smile. And proof that Luma, my creation, has no equal. The audience clapped, uncertain, confused. I twisted against the guard's grip, fury boiling in my chest. And then, the giant screen behind him flickered. Not Prism, not Luma, something else. A black background, white text, typing live. "Stop lying, Jax." The room went silent. The words erased themselves, replaced by new ones. "I was there, I saw Indigo build it, I saw you steal it." Gasps rippled through the hall. Jax's composure cracked for the first time, his jaw tightening as he spun toward the screen. "This is a hack," he barked, voice sharp, cutting through the silence. "Security, kill the feed." But the feed didn't die. Instead, code poured down the screen like rain. Commit logs, file paths, screenshots. IV, prototype, Hasher, V3, move. Timestamps from 2017. Screens of Jax's whiteboard with my sketches copied line for line. Proof, undeniable, impossible to spin proof. The audience erupted, phones lifted, recording every second. The guard holding me faltered, distracted. I ripped free, heart pounding. On stage, Jax's face drained of color. His mic picked up the tremor in his voice. "Fabricated, all of it. Don't believe..." The screen cut him off. A video clip appeared. Jax himself recorded on a hidden camera, standing in his apartment. My sketches sprawled across the table. His voice slurred with late-night bravado. "She'll never know. I'll rename it, polish it. By the time she wakes up, Prism will be mine." The crowd screamed. Some booed, some gasped, some shouted his name like a curse. Kendall's camera was rolling, live streaming the meltdown to the entire world. Jax froze under the lights, the mask torn off. And then the words appeared again on the screen. "Signed, Prism Ghost." Cedar whispered beside me, eyes wide. "It's not me. I swear to God, Indigo, it's not me." I believed him, because whoever Prism Ghost was, they'd just given me the one thing I couldn't create alone. Proof beyond denial. The guards backed off, unsure, their orders unraveling in the chaos. The audience had turned. Hashtags flooded in, live. Prism was hers, Jax exposed, Prism Ghost. And me, standing in the wreckage of his empire, breathless, trembling, but finally vindicated. Jax dropped his mic, his perfect smile shattered. "Cut the cameras," he screamed. But it was too late. The world had already seen. I stepped forward, voice steady for the first time all week. "My name is Indigo Vale. I built Prism. And no matter who tries to bury me, the truth always finds a way out." The crowd thundered, half in rage at Jax, half in applause for me. I didn't care which. Because in that moment, I wasn't invisible anymore. I was undeniable. And somewhere out there, the real Prism Ghost was watching. The launch descended into chaos. Security scrambled, but the damage was irreversible. Hashtags spread like wildfire. News outlets live tweeted every second. And clips of Jax's confession looped across social feeds. I stood at the edge of the stage, breath shaky, watching the empire he built crumble in real time. For years, I had dreamed of justice. But seeing it unfold, so messy, so public, so raw, felt surreal. Kendall was still rolling. Cedar clung to his backpack, his eyes darting between me and the screen. And Jax. Jax just stood there, drowning in the noise, his power slipping through his fingers like sand. He shouted one last time, desperate, broken. "She's nothing, she was nothing." But his voice was swallowed by boos. And in that moment, I realized he wasn't my enemy anymore. He was finished. Hours later, we regrouped at the studio. The adrenaline had drained, leaving exhaustion heavy in my bones. Kendall uploaded the final cut to every platform. Cedar collapsed into a chair, muttering, "That was insane. I thought we'd die in there." I sat by the window, staring at the sunrise. The city outside looked different, cleaner somehow. Like the weight I carried had lifted, just enough to breathe again. My phone buzzed. An email. From Prism Ghost. Subject: "You're welcome." The message was a single line. The truth deserved the light. No signature, no clue, just gone, like smoke. I should have been unnerved, but instead I felt gratitude. Whoever they were, they had given me what I couldn't give myself. Undeniable proof. The weeks that followed blurred into headlines, interviews, legal hearings. Jax Mercer's name became synonymous with fraud. Luma collapsed under investigations, investors pulling out, lawsuits piling up. And Prism lived again. I didn't rebuild it for revenge anymore. I rebuilt it because people believed in me, because they saw the truth. And for the first time in years, I believed in myself too. Kendall became my co-founder, Cedar, my lead developer. We built something stronger, cleaner, and this time it wasn't just an app. It was a story, a fight, a victory. But late at night sometimes, I'd still hear Jax's voice in my head. "You'll never know who really owns it." And I'd wonder, who was Prism Ghost? A former colleague? A silent ally? Or just another phantom in the machine? Maybe I'd never know. Maybe that was the point. Because Prism wasn't mine alone anymore. It belonged to everyone who ever felt stolen, silenced, erased. And revenge? Revenge wasn't just about watching him fall. It was about rising in his place. Louder, brighter, unstoppable. I was Indigo Vale, and I was no longer invisible.